if I'm going to sit here and like try to collect positive feedback from people, like that's probably a bad idea because there's so many different reactions. And if I like it, you know, that's good enough because like that energy is like what's going to keep me going anyway. And like, yeah, sure, I'm making music for other people to enjoy it, but there is a gut feeling you have to get to with whatever you're making because it's part of you and it's like you have to like yourself.
I've been thinking of my side.
You're watching Loud Music Only. I'm your host, A.T Bianco, and I get to talk to one of my favorite artists and producers today. We're going to chop it up all about his new music. He's brought a refreshing sound to music with the release and success of his song Soft One. And if you dive deeper into his discography, you'll find out that he might just be the funkiest man alive. He goes by the name of Yellow Shoots. Yellow Shoots, what's up, man? Thanks for joining the show today.
What's up? How's it going, AT? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk to you and chop it up. You're live from a coffee shop today. Talk to me about your day, what's been going on, and what you're sipping on.
Yeah, I'm in a Vietnamese restaurant right now in Brooklyn. Just stole some caffeine real quick before the interview because I've been in the studio all day, kind of finishing some tracks and projects. So yeah, it's been a pretty good day. I like to take little coffee breaks to, not think about music, and then so I can think about music better when I get in there.
So to start, just want to talk about your lore, your beginning story. Are you from Philadelphia?
Yeah, I'm from the Philadelphia area. I grew up in the Philly area until I was about 21, and then I moved out to New York here. I've been here for almost 12 years now. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, Philly's my hometown. I grew up playing music there, and then when I started producing more as Yellow Shoots, that was right before I moved to New York, and then I moved to New York shortly after.
Now, did you grow up any sort of like Philly sports fan, or like is there something a part of Philly that like still sticks with you even though you're now a New Yorker?
I mean, yeah, I'm from Philly through and through. Like everything about it, the culture, I wasn't a huge sports guy, but I did play sports, and I do obviously love the Phillies and the Sixers, and the Eagles, but more like Sixers and Phillies and the Flyers were my team.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, maybe I think more so since I'm such a music person, like the Philly music scene has always been a huge influence on how I make stuff. So um, yeah, so Philadelphia represent.
Tell me about you, like your upbringing in Philly, if you'd like to get into that, and like kind of before you started making music, and like what did you love doing as a kid, and how was music like coinciding with your life as you were growing older?
That's cool. Yeah, thanks for asking. I mean, I had a pretty like chill upbringing. Like, I grew up playing like a lot of sports and stuff when I was younger. I played a lot of soccer, baseball, and basketball. And then my mom is an art teacher. She was an art teacher K through 12. My dad was a technical engineer for a hospital, and I grew up around like a pretty working class family, you know. But my mom, was always all about. Since my mom was an art teacher, she always found a lot of value in the arts and making sure like she used to teach like drawing and painting classes at our house. And we had like a little room, I don't know, a substantial sized room at the house that we had moved to when we left Delaware County. And basically, she was like all about like having these play spaces, basically for making things. And you know, in middle school and high school, I was playing music. I played saxophone in school, but like I wasn't into music, like creating music yet. And but when I got to the ninth grade, my friends were starting bands and things, and I played saxophone in the band, in the high school band. I'm sorry, in the middle school band. And then one of the bass players quit in one of their bands, and they're like, "Greg, you sound pretty good on the saxophone. Like, why don't you join our band?" And I started joining these like ska and punk rock bands with my friends. And then the bass players would always quit, and they'd be like, "Greg, you're musical. You play sax really well. Like, why don't you start playing the bass?" And that's how it all kind of got started. Is like, my friends had bands, and then I started like, picking up slots for guys who would quit. And it wasn't until this is a pivotal moment. I'll tell you the pivotal moment. So
I love it.
I went to a flea market with my mom, and we were selling stuff like old clothes or just like clothes that we've grown out of, because we would go to these Pennsylvania flea markets where there's big parking lots and everyone's got the tables and they're selling shit. And this older guy had all these CDs selling for like 20 cents or something. And I bought a bunch of them. And one of them I bought was the best of Yes anthology. Like,
That's one of the records on my wall right here.
yeah, so I got that record, right? And then I went to my mom's Honda Odyssey that was packed full of stuff, or we're like loading stuff up that we didn't sell, and like I put this thing in the car, and like Roundabout comes on, right? And like I'm like, what is this? Because I was already into Led Zeppelin, and I was already into like getting into rock bands and Pink Floyd and stuff, because high school, like I was listening to older music. But when I heard like Yes, like the Yes records, I was like, whoa, something grabbed me. Something really grabbed me. I'm like, whoa, this music is incredible, and I was just so hooked on it. And I think, listening to Yes and listening to, definitely Led Zeppelin and those bands set the stage too, and Jimi Hendrix, of course. But then I really wanted to start playing guitar, and I started like, and then I got a guitar, and I started teaching myself how to play. And I think that's what did it for me, is that it all of a sudden music became my thing. It became my thing. Like sports wasn't mine because I played sports with other people. It wasn't that individual to me. But then, as I came as an individual in high school, I started a personal relationship out with music, and I started writing a lot of music by myself. Just like trying to make songs, because I didn't. My parents were not all about me playing the guitar in the beginning. They're like, oh, you get lessons maybe one day, and I was like, all right, cool. I'll just teach myself. And as I started to teach myself the guitar, I realized that I was creating stuff that I liked. And I think that was the first moment in my life that I realized that I was creating things, you know. So it's cool. It's a cool personal journey, and it's always been like that since then. Like music is my little world that I get to go into, and when I want to.
One thing I love about you and your brand is that you are not afraid of the journey and making a video about the journey and encouraging other creatives and other artists to like love the journey and to not like necessarily seek validation.
I had this aha moment where I was like, wow, I finished my album, right? So I'm showing these songs to people, like my friends, like my whomever, and realizing there's so many different reactions to the song, like from people I respect and people I love too, and awesome musicians, and just like people who aren't musicians, and it's like, wow, this person doesn't like that song, and this person loves it, and this person, and it's kind of like at the end of the day, if I'm gonna sit here and like try to collect positive feedback from people, like that's probably a bad idea, because there's so many different reactions, and if I like it, you know, that's good enough, because like that energy is like what's going to keep me going anyway. And like, yeah, sure, I'm making music for other people to enjoy it, but there is a gut feeling you have to get to with whatever you're making, because it's part of you, and it's like you have to like yourself.
How do you balance okay, I'm Yellow Shoots making music in the studio and loving it, and then having to be that creator on the side as well?
Yeah, that's been an interesting journey for me too. Like, it didn't always feel. I mean, now I've kind of. This is kind of maybe why it ties back into some stuff with my mom, in a really good way, where I've kind of learned how to make social media for me like an extension of my art. And it's like, I don't think of it as like marketing or anything like that. I think of it like I get to make a cool thing today, you know? And when I post those videos, I make one every day. I usually make it the day I post it anyway, but for me, it helps me keep it fresh, but also, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make a video every day for the rest of my life. But what I'll say right now is that I'm enjoying making these videos. And sometimes they make me laugh. Sometimes they make me smile. Sometimes they make me sad, whatever. And it's kind of like my art. It's kind of like my music. Like my music makes me feel that way. And it's like I'm build a relationship with the videos now where they're little pieces of art instead of like little pieces of content, you know? And I like making them.
It's open to their interpretation, your content specifically. And I love how you have fun with it. And I'm going to get into talking about how I first heard your music last June of, one of the Soft One videos popped up on my For You page. And I thought it was just very unique. And I'm sure there's plenty of people talking about, oh, Soft One, Soft One, Soft One, right? But I just want to touch on that and then get into the rest of some of your discography because I found that very unique. It was an introduction to your aesthetic and like who you are and how you were having fun with it. So, I also want to talk to you about like the creation of that song and how the content with that song coincides. So just talk about your vision behind the presentation of Soft One.
Yeah, sure. So the album is called Will You Bring the Rain that it's on. Part one. EP part one, Will You Bring the Rain came out last summer. Soft One's one of the songs on there. It's a 4-track EP. And then my second EP, Will You Bring the Rain part two, The World, the story is kind of funny. It's like it's like me moonlighting as like, I'm not as a musician in my head. Like I've always had jobs. I moved to New York and I've always like got jobs, like whether it be at a hotel or working at at a tech company or doing sales or something. And I think always as I've had these jobs, I was thinking about playing music in the back of my head. And I had all these stories wrapped in my head that were like these musical dramas. And then sometimes I'd bring the keyboard on the subway and play. And I'd make a song on the way to work. I used to live in Flatbush. I used to take the Q train and I'd pull my keyboard out and like try to finish a beat before I would go to work on Canal Street. And so I've been kind of doing this my whole life, like, kind of the stuff that you see me doing. I'm not setting up a keyboard stand always and playing in the subway. Sometimes I used to be a busker too when I was in Philly, but like the reality is that this is kind of like a commentary of my life too, where I'm like I am that guy. Yeah.
That's like it's so interesting though. I love that because it's truly who you are. And I'm excited for people to hear this straight from the source.
Yeah. And it's like, I am that person. And I have worked all kinds of jobs. And I know there's other people out there like me. Like there's just as many other people out there that have a dream, to do something. And also I liked all the jobs that I worked at too. Like, it's like, this is just maybe a few different versions of me packed into a video. I still go to work and come after, like, it's like you can be multiple things. And I think kind of like people can have multiple versions of themselves, and that's okay. We can be all kinds of things. We can be a musician. We can be working in an insurance company. Like, that's chill. Like, that's fine.
Right.
Like, there's not one is better than the other. And I think I'm just kind of showing that in these videos, that there's a lot of different versions of us that live inside of us. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, that's the meta, sort of explanation of it. But there isn't like a step-by-step story. It's just like this guy who's everywhere having these thoughts,
Yeah, so. whipping out the keyboard with the NYPD pulling up on him. I want to talk about that clip. Were they pulling up on you to tell you to move, or what happened in that clip? Because it got a lot of reactions.
Those neighborhood cops have pulled me over before, like in my car, like they've, those guys, I've seen them all the time, like for that particular time, like there was an incident on the subway, and I didn't know it was happening, and obviously I'm always looking out for stuff around me because like it's New York City, stuff could happen.
Right.
But like they just pulled up right behind me, and I think I kind of made an edit where like it looked like they were about to come at me, but they did all the cops did run around my area, and I was like, what is happening? And it's like, but like I was like, I gotta keep this clip playing because
Your
I gotta
camera is
keep.
probably on a tripod or something like that.
Oh yeah. Like New York is cool because like no one. The cool thing about New York, and I think the videos kind of touch on this too, is like everybody just, oh, that's okay. Like people are perplexed, but people are doing their thing.
Yeah.
Like that's so interesting about New York is like the world just keeps going, and people are very kind in New York, but in a way where like, oh, he's doing his thing. Like people aren't even like batting an eye at what I'm doing. Sometimes they're just like going around me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that. Actually, I'm like, this is badass. Like no one's gonna give me like the like. Rarely people give me trouble when I'm doing it. Sometimes, but it's pretty fun to
Right.
see how people react.
Some of the comments that you received on a lot of the videos for Soft One and Kissing All Night, like there is like a lot of just feedback by what you were wearing, what the cops did to you, or whatever. And one of my favorites was bro caught a misdemeanor for being groovy as fuck. And
Right.
I love to just see those videos that you create with the comment and you kind of like addressing that. There's another one. So this is why my professor was late for class today. That was another one of my favorites. And then word on the street is that this is the new Law and Order intro. That was my my personal favorite. But it's resonating with a lot of people, and I think you bring a sense of nostalgia and ingenuity for one, and sincerity, and it all comes across in a lot of your music and especially your content. So I'm just like very fascinated with your journey, even since the first time I had hit you up about your music and how cool it sounded, and then I kind of like dove deeper into your discography and was very pleased to see that you've been dropping music for years. And just a little note on some of your discography. Wonderful Day is my favorite song of yours.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I have a couple friends that are begging me to make a video for that one. They like that song a lot. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I'm an instrumentalist. I play guitar, I play keys, play bass. I love music. I love learning how music is made. I like hip hop. I like R&B. I like pop. I like classic rock, I like classical music, jazz. I'm a jazz musician, whatever. And I'm into recording music. I love recording music, and I use tape machines sometimes to record my music.
I've seen that in some of your videos. Those are, not easy things to learn to pick up sometimes, right?
I mean, it's just because I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, and it's fun to go after that. But I think, the aesthetics of like, this nostalgia things that people talk about, like, yeah, it's all in there. It's not always like purposeful. I'm always like, sometimes I just get super into like drum machines, and then I'll make some music. And I think like, yeah, I'll get snapped into some ideas. Like once I learn how to make a style of music, or I like get deep into it. And I think the music that I'm putting out now, I made all this music in 2022.
Okay, well,
I have so much more music to put out. I make a lot of tracks, and this I have a video I posted the other day, 2022 of the summer. I made that song Soft One in an hour, where I just like set up some drum machine stuff, had a keyboard sound, and it just came out, and I did it, and people saw me make it on an Instagram live video, and I knew I had something because it came out. I knew it was like, okay, it's like 5 tracks, and sometimes that's how it works for me, where I'll make a song and it happens fast, and other times it'll take like forever to finish a song because like I get like I second guess my decisions and stuff, and I think that's just common, but sometimes it just flows but yeah, I mean the gear, sometimes the gear helps me do it. Sometimes it prevents me from making decisions. So I don't know. It's I just kind of live by the thing where I'm trying to have an adventure every time I make a song, you know.
And one thing I noticed on you had a 2021 album, was it the Green
Yeah.
album? And I found a song on there called In the Gold, and
Yeah.
that's a nut song, man. I
I
love
love
that.
that song. I was thinking about that song the other day. I want to do something with that song.
Wonderful Day and In the Gold, just like off the top of listening to all your music, I think would like resonate so well to people just in a video form. I think they're fun. I think they have a little bit of like a psychedelic theme to it, but it all kind of like rooted in like a soul and funk that I can just get down with. I showed my dad your music, and he was like, "Oh my god, like I feel like I'm listening to music when I was a teenager."
Oh
And I
wow,
and I
that's
think that's
cool.
I think that's very special, and I think that's what like a beautiful thing about music, and a beautiful thing about maybe discovering new music. That's the feeling that I had when I first heard your stuff.
Thank you.
So of course, and part of the big reason why I'm so excited to be able to speak with you, and I was watching some of your stuff, and I went on your YouTube, and I found a video from maybe a year or two ago of you talking about your experience with synesthesia,
Mm, yeah,
and your kind of relationship with that. And for anyone watching this, can you kind of describe what synesthesia is and what your experience with that has been while making music?
yeah, sure. Synesthesia is like where your I don't know if this is the right way to describe it, but like your senses kind of cross hairs with each other. And my type, there's all kinds of synesthesia. Like some people, like I have a friend, she has synesthesia with words, and like she'll see colors with certain words or certain types of type form. She'll see. And for me, like if I hear music, I have a color environment in my head that I see, or a texture environment. So in the gold is that. Like in the gold, that song is like when I made that song, I saw these like yellows and reds and browns and different types of colors streaking in my head, and that's what Yellow Shoots is too. Yellow Shoots is the same thing. Yellow Shoots is made is that my name comes from a synesthesia event where I was making music when I first moved to Flatbush, New York, Brooklyn, and I was like, what do I call this project? Like, and I was making all these songs, and there were all these kind of streaks of yellow, and I was just like, oh, I'll just call it Yellow Shoots, and yeah, so like I don't know, my experience, I first found that out when I was in, I think I was like a freshman in college,
Wow.
or a freshman or a senior in high school, or freshman in college, and I was playing guitar in my mom's art studio with my band. My brother and I had a band with my friend Richie, and I was like in there playing by myself, trying to practice a part, and it was like a D major chord I was playing. It was a D major 7 chord on like the 5th fret, and I was like, oh, that's so blue. It's like in my head, I was like, oh, I had this blue kind of like royal blue kind of vision in my head. In my head, you don't see it. I didn't see it in reality. I see it in my head now. I don't know. It just stuck with me. I was like, wait a second, that's blue, you know? And then when I go to D flat, it's purple, you know? And it doesn't really make a ton of sense. Like A flat to me is like sometimes on the guitar, A flat is like a maroon color. I don't know. It's just change. It's like it doesn't make any sense sometimes. But I know that sometimes the key affects me, and also the way the the timbre of the note. Like a guitar with distortion is different than a guitar that's like a clean sound or something. So I don't know. I kind of use that as a compass to write music sometimes too.
I love that. It's almost another bit of a creative outlet. And when you're talking about and almost a like creative inspiration or something that fuels like your feeling of while you're making a track or whatnot. And when you're thinking of Will You Bring the Rain, those what 4 songs, 5 songs that are on that project, right?
Yeah.
4 songs. Those
First part. Yeah.
the first part of it that came out September 2024. Um, what colors would you say are associated with the first installment of Will You Bring the Rain?
Yeah. There's a lot of grays. There's a lot of seafoam green.
I
There's a
could see
lot of
that.
there's a lot of there's a lot of like kind of baby blues and dark blues in it. Kissing All Night and uh whites, dark blues, grays, a lot of stuff like that. Perspective is pretty like middle of the road color wise, doesn't and then yeah, kind of like a lot of deeper, darker colors. A lot of grays, in that record. But yeah, where like the Green album was a little bit more crazier. It was like there's a lot of like yellows and reds and I'm trying to remember all the songs on it. Body Bag was super red and like, orange. That song, it comes from like the synthesizers and the guitars and the way the drums sound. Um, yeah, it's kind of fun. Helps me kind of keep the music in an environment. Because I mentioned this before with somebody else. Like I try to keep it in a color environment because if I keep my style right now is I don't like changing the color environments too much because it makes me more focused if I can keep it in the environment.
The second
Yeah.
installment, Will You Bring the Rain Part Two. Talk about that and where you're at in your creative process and what it's been like to bring that to life.
To be honest, I wrote all this music a long time ago, and some of the stuff that's on part two was going to come out in part one, but I kind of wanted to introduce those 4 songs on part one first. It's kind of like a chapter, like how it's not like a sequel. It's like the same sitting where you watch it, but it's maybe like a scene two, you know.
Okay.
Where it's like the intermission happened. Now we get to do the part two, and we get to see like kind of it not end, but sort of it just like kind of finalize in such a way.
So as you're living in New York, right? It's a huge community of creatives, musicians, artists, and whatnot. Who are some artists that you've became a fan of? That maybe you'd like to manifest a collab with, work with, or just maybe share ideas and meet up and hang out, that kind of thing.
There's so many dope musicians. I mean, I'm a big fan of Nick Hakim is a really dope artist that I like. I him and I cross paths here and there. I really like artists like Blood Orange. Blood Orange was fire. I'm a huge Peter Gabriel fan. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I love Conan Moccasin. Um, I love obviously Kevin Parker, Tame Impala. Oh, big fan of Unknown Mortal Orchestra.
Okay, I've never heard of them.
Incredible band. Ruben Nielsen, Unknown Mortal Orchestra. Um, yeah, anyone who's just like trying to push their own envelope personally with their music. Anderson .Paak would be kind of fun.
As we wrap this one up, what are some goals that you'd like to manifest for yourself for the rest of the year and years to come, whether it's in your personal life or also with your music?
Yeah, I think I really want to be able to. I really want to be able to do some touring with my band. Um, I have like a lot of things that I need now, but I'd love to certainly do some tours and play this music live for people. I'd love to do some festival shows with the band and maybe do a world tour, maybe a national tour one day. Yeah, I don't know. And I think I'm living the dream. So as long as I keep doing this and having fun, um, I think I'm just staying positive and enjoying it. So, but one of my goals, yeah, is certainly just to go on a tour of my band. Um, Maybe get a little more sleep once in a while. But that'll come. That'll come. But yeah, I mean, yeah, nothing crazy. Just like I'm already kind of feeling. I don't want to say I'm like being complacent, but I feel really good about like happy with like the music I'm making, and I want to keep just getting better. And make I want to make songs. Honestly, I do want to make songs that like everyone can can have a piece of, you know, that can everyone can kind of like relate to. That's like a very important thing for me to make music for, you know, make music for for just about anyone. You know? So
I love that. So to everyone watching at home right now, Yellow Shoots here wants to make music for you. So you have plenty of music to go check out deep in his discography from years ago, and he's been grinding on a regular basis. And I want to make an emphasis on that because just because you saw him on TikTok doesn't mean he hasn't been making music ever since. So I love that. So keep an eye out for Will You Bring the Rain Part 2. And if you haven't checked out Will You Bring the Rain, the first installment, go check that one out because you'll be grooving, you'll be dancing in your room, in the shower, in the mirror, whatever it is, getting ready for work. Listen to that one. So Yellow Shoots, I really appreciate your time today, man. And it's been very fascinating learning about your journey.
thank you, Anthony. Thanks for putting this together, and I really appreciate you, taking the time to chat with me today.
Of course, man. You have a great rest of your day. And to everyone at home, you're watching Loud Music Only. I'm your host, A.T Bianco, and this has been our conversation with the one and only Yellow Shoots. Thanks for joining us.